Hello everyone, this is Cardmates and welcome to our new video. Today we'll talk about how to detect under-bluffing. The under-bluffing occurs when the betting or the raising range of a player has fewer bluffs and more value bets than a balanced strategy. At micro stakes and low stakes, under-bluffing is very common. If you run into an under-bluffing opponent, making some tidy fold is a great way to boost your winnings. Here are some examples of situations where your opponent will not be able to bluff enough to induce you to call with a marginal hand. On high connected cards, imagine an average tight aggressive reg opens from the cutoff, and we 3-bet from the small blind with Ace-King offsuit. Our opponent calls, and we are heads up on a King-Queen-Jack flop. We will start with a careful check. There are many possible strong hands for our opponent, but will he often bluff against us? A villain should be bluffing with hands like a pair of 10s, a pair of 9s, a pair of 8s, a Jack 10 suited, an Ace 9 suited, and etc. Most players don't realize they have to turn hands here that look like hands with showdown value into the bluffs. They will play on the flop almost face up. If the villain checks back, we see that his range is likely weak, and we might be trying to value bet on the turn and river. However, if our opponent starts betting, we must proceed with caution. Let's continue with our example. Our opponent bets half the pot, and we reluctantly call. The turn is the 4 of diamonds. We check, and our opponent bets 2/3 of the pot. This is a very under-bluffery spot. We need a very creative and aggressive opponent who is bluffing here often enough to make us want to call this bet. Our fold here is tidy but very profitable. Calling in such a situation would be a big mistake against most low-limit players and marginal against smart regs. Here we go with another example. Multiway pots. In general, people are tighter in hands when many players are involved, which is the right decision, but going too far can lead to under-bluffing again. Let's analyze the following situation. Hero calls a raise with 8-7 suited on the bottom after he check open and call from the cutoff. There are 3 players in the hand, and the hitchhack bets half the pot on a 9-8-7 flop with 2 hearts. Not thinking that his hand is good for raising this dangerous board texture, Hero calls after the cutoff calls. A 2 of hearts appears on the turn. Hitchhack checks quickly, and the cutoff bets 2/3 of the pot. To have a bluff in this range here, the cutoff must flat call the flop with 10x hands, and then bet on the flush cards with a player behind him who could have made a flush here easily. It is very likely that in this multipot, on this wet board, the cutoff is very under-bluffing. Hero's bottom 2 pairs go quickly to the muck. Not a good fold against an opponent who cannot achieve enough bluff frequency for a balanced play. Our last example is about when the preflop raiser check calls the flop. A regular on the small blind opens, and Hero calls in the big blind. The flop is Jack, 6, 2, rainbow. The small blind checks, and Hero makes a small bet for value and protection with a mediocre hand like a pair of 7s or King 6 suited. It doesn't matter. The small blind calls, and a 3 of spades comes on the turn. Both players check. We see an 8 on the river, and we still have a middle pair. The opponent bets half the pot, and we need to decide whether to catch bluffs here. As a rule, regulars have one situation where they decide not to make a continuation bet, but check and call or flop bet, which is when they have some showdown value. This makes it quite difficult for them to reach the river with a weak hand that they need to bluff. Most players are not habitually balancing their range by checking calling air on the flop on a dry board. As a result, they once again under-bluffing, and we can resist the urge to catch bluffs here against such a range. Our conclusion for today is that under-bluffing happens every day in many situations, and many unaware players pay off bets too light in all such cases. Look out for the signs that your opponent will find it challenging to keep the air in range and fold your hands accordingly against these value bets. That's all for now, guys. You will find more poker strategies on our website, cardmates.net. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to our channel.